Liam, let's crack on straight away with a busy week at the football club. Falimayolu's loan move was confirmed on Sunday. Just talk to me a bit about that and how hopefully it will benefit both the player and the football club.
Definitely, I think it was a decision when you look at it of where Fali's at, the progress he's made, and probably what does he need in order to progress. He's still an extremely young player with lots of potential. So it was when you look at it, minutes had been quite challenging, but I'm still adamant he'd progressed and shown shoots that were heading in the right direction. Then it's how do you make sure that you continue that progression, and it's going to be difficult here in terms of the minutes probably needed in order for him to transfer the good stuff from training into games. So he's obviously familiar with the league out there, in terms of going back there and trying to transfer some of the stuff we've done here with him. So some of the bits around the the intensity, the focus, the way we work, and it's got an opportunity now to go and transfer that into games. So for me, it's one of them where we'll keep a close eye on him. I spoke to him yesterday. We'll make sure that we continue to monitor him, and it's a good opportunity for him now to go and get some success.
It's only a loan move, not a permanent. Does he still have a future at Bristol City?
Yeah, of course. I think potentially. I think it's one of those you obviously assess and see how things go, and like I said, he was heading in the right direction and doing some really good things. It was just, he needs a bit of time, and I think when you look at the intensity, the volume of games here versus Austria is slightly different in terms of the demands of the games. So it's one of those. I think it's a good opportunity for him to go somewhere familiar and try and show that, and then look, we get to the summer and assess, see how he's done, and we'll continue to monitor him that way. And
then Cal Naismith joining Luton on loan, a club he's familiar with. He hasn't played for the City first team since November. Was it just a question of he needs some minutes at this stage in his career?
Yeah, I think so. I think, to be fair to Naisy as well, he's obviously had a frustrating period of time probably here with us, but also pre that with injuries and match minutes and availability, etc. So so it's one of those for Naisy, to be fair, he needed to go and play.
Do you anticipate any more outgoings, Harry Cornick, for example, before the transfer window shuts at the end of the month?
There's nothing close at the minute. You'd never rule anything out. There's nothing close on anybody. So I think in terms of, for me, there's nothing imminent. I think it's a case of making sure we concentrate on getting ready for the weekend and obviously, assess and see what happens when things come in.
Has there been any interest in Mark Sykes? I know you were asked on Saturday, but the reports in the media persist that there is interest in him.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of interest, yeah. I sat with Sykes yesterday and again today. I think it's one of those. He's really happy here. He's enjoying it. I think he's really hit a level recently with us. I know pre the injury and then since coming back, he's done extremely well. So I had a good chat with Sykes. Yeah, for me, I don't see him going anywhere.
What do you say to the people who fear that the squad's just a bit light now? You've had some departures. Do you acknowledge that maybe you are an injury or two away from having problems in the squad?
No, I think we're quite clear. I think if you looked at the work busy summer, the work that we did, I always knew we were a couple heavy coming into the first half of the season. So naturally, we knew that come January we'd have to move a couple on. I think just in terms of to free up. But numerous aspects come into it, whether it be people going to play, whether it be financial. There's numerous decisions in reasons for the decision. Sorry. So for me, it's one of those. I think when I look at it, obviously got Pringy to come back. I left Marcus McGuane out the squad at the weekend, so he's obviously someone that's done extremely well. And then we've got some really exciting young ones as well in Josh and Elijah. So for me, of course, you naturally it's right on the cusp of things, but we've got to get through 16 games and not 30 like we have so far.
Do you expect to make any signings before the end of the month?
It's looking quite doubtful, to be honest. I think, and that comes down to two things. I think some of it budgetary. We had quite a big summer in terms of what we brought in, so it's looking quite unlikely that financially we'll be able to. And at the same point, I think it's not always about adding. I've said a little bit around keeping your core ones, which when you look at the squad, I look at it in this January versus last January when we finished the window. It's a lot stronger now, and we've got a lot more options and more depth and more quality. So for me, when you look at it, I think there's that. There's also then. When you look at the January, it's always a difficult window in January. Ultimately, when you're either paying top dollar because people are doing well, or you're gambling on people that have either not been in squads or not been fit. So for me, I think that there's you'd probably look at last January. There's a few clubs that did a good job of it. There's a few clubs that recruited and got it wrong for me, and it can unsettle things. So I think there's a real strength in the group we've got here. I think we showed it last season, the final 8 games, the progress that we made. Ultimately it's concentrating on the group we've got here.
Because I've seen teams like Sheffield United and Middlesbrough spend an awful lot of money that perhaps Bristol City don't have. Would the loan market be an alternative avenue to look into?
Yeah, there's a possibility, but again, I think some of it comes down to finances, whether what you can do and is it worth bringing someone in for the sake of it. So again, it's probably, I'll be transparent, it's quite unlikely we're going to do anything.
And you're eighth, just 3 points off the playoffs. So you've obviously got a squad who can challenge there. Do you have a squad and the firepower capable of maintaining that push going into the final straight, where the games will be gruelling and a lot of teams like you have ambitions of a top 6 finish?
Yeah, I believe in the group we've got. I think first and foremost, I think we've got a terrific, you see it at the weekend culturally, got a great group of lads that are all in. I think the other big advantage we've got in the squad is you've seen it numerous times where we can play people in multiple positions, which, that gives you flexibility, it gives you the ability, to adapt and change things if needed. So, like I said, we've got some really, you've got to remember how young we are as well. I think in terms of when you look at the the back end of the season last year to this year, I think the players will continue to grow and improve and get better. So, like I said, we've 29 games in, had a solid 2/3 to the season. Now we want to make sure that we finish it strongly.
And just reference a couple of your younger players, Elijah, lots of supporters excited about him. I assume if and when he's on the bench, you won't just be making up the numbers, but there's an opportunity he could play a part.
Definitely, I think. For me, it's all on merit. I think if and again, I think it's understanding. You have to be patient with certain people, and of course, I think there's still an element where you've got to deliver. And he's trained really well. He's been with us this week. He's trained really well. He's in and around the squad constantly. Josh Lowy to come back from his injury as well. So I think when you look at it, he's someone that he did well in the little Leeds at home. I remember he came on. Was it Sheffield United as well? A couple of the bigger games, he did really well. So he's someone that's unfortunately was sick not so long ago, but since he's come back, he's looked sharp in training. So anyone that's going to help the team win has got an opportunity.
And of course you want players fit as well. You've mentioned Marcus, who is fit then, and it's just other players keeping him out of the squad at the moment, but ahead of a visit to his former club, is he in contention to return to the squad this week? Yeah,
definitely. Marcus has been great since he came in. He knew it was quite an opportunity, but I think it goes from an opportunity to merit, and I think he's done that with the performances he's put in. I think we had like I said, leaving him out of the squad was difficult, and I had such a good conversation with him earlier in the week. I think he's massively matured in just his understanding of situations. You're not in a squad, but it doesn't mean that you're not rated or valued or going to play an important part. So, he'll definitely come into contention with being back in this week.
And just finishing off team news, you've mentioned Cam Pring. How far away is he from a return?
Still a couple of weeks. He's kind of heading along as expected. He's been doing some light stuff on the grass. So yeah, he's moving in the right direction. He's just going to still be a couple of weeks.
It was nice seeing a lot of smiling faces on Saturday after that win against Blackburn. I guess you're always challenging yourself. You go to Oxford, where I guess 3 points would be nice, wouldn't it, on the road and get an away win?
Yeah, of course, 3 points is nice at any time. So yeah, we'll be doing everything to go there and win the game. I think that's the biggest bit. We'll the prep work, the plan, all the processes that we go through will be the same, and then it's about going there with belief, confidence, and and taking the game to them.
Was Oxford away one of the first fixtures you looked for when the fixtures were published at the start of the season?
I don't concentrate on all of it too much. To be fair, it's game by game. So it's one of those. Obviously, I spent a period of time there, and I had some good memories. So it's one of those. Now I'm all in here, and I've been here quite a period of time now, and like I said, look forward to taking this group of players there to try and win.
I guess any former head coach or player that returns to a club, they might expect some sort of reaction, but a lot of water's under the bridge since as well, of course, and Des has now left the club and Gary Rowett's in charge. So having experienced an Oxford game already at Bristol City, do you think it's just another game for you on Saturday?
Yeah, obviously I see some familiar faces and people I work with there and some of the players, but I think it's one of those, football moves on quite quickly. So, like you say, obviously Gary's gone in there, done an extremely good job in the 8 games he's done. You only got to look at their form and how they're performing to show they're in a good spot. And that's the good bit. That's a good challenge for us to go there and hit the level we're capable of. Yeah, I mean, how have they changed since you were there? They've won the last 4 home matches, so home form has got them hopefully from their point of view out of trouble. Yeah. Quite a few teams, I think, if you look at the difference in the home and away tables, I think the home form is a tough place to go. Their points return at home, especially under Gary, is obviously extremely good. So, like I say, anywhere you go in this league is difficult. So, we'll go into the game prepared, plan, knowing what we need to do. And I think you told Andy on Saturday that you might have a quick look at the league table, but you are in a healthy position, 8th position, just 3 points off the playoffs. How excited can we be for Bristol City the second half of the season? Last third. I think for me, it's turn up excited every time. I think that's the bit for me. I think we bog down so much on outcomes and results, and we actually sometimes forget. And You see the photos now when people are at concerts with phones and all that stuff. People forget to live in the moment a little bit and are so concentrated on too far ahead. Enjoy it. That's my biggest bit, and that's kind of been the message with the lads. Look, it's a great opportunity. Go and enjoy it. Go and be brave. Have no regrets. Go and give everything you've got. And I think, if fans, players, staff, everybody can pull in the same direction, it's all about trying to create special memories. So for me, that's why I live in the moment, enjoy the present, and I let everybody give their all Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Liam, just on Fally, was his familiarity with Austria in the league part of the reason that's the club he's gone to and that's the club has chosen to send him on loan to?
Yeah, we had a couple of different bits, but I think it was twofold. I think it was one that makes sense in terms of, for us, he knows the league, which to a certain extent should help him get more success. Because he, just thinks who he's up against, team styles, playing in certain grounds should allow him to hopefully get a bit more success. And yeah, I think they're playing European football as well. So again, I think it's a good platform, and for him to like I said, to boost his profile, to go and show what he's capable of. And like I said, then it's a case we'll stay in touch. I'll keep speaking with him, and then we'll reassess in the summer.
I know I asked you after Sheffield Wednesday whether you were happy with the striking options you had if you were to leave. Is that still the same case that you feel you've got enough firepower at the top end of the pitch with him not in the squad?
Yeah, I think I've always said around goals from a variety of sources. I think that I've constantly said that. And if you look at Anis, Twiney, Naki, Sinks, I think we've got Sykesy, we've got a variety of options. If you could add, of course, I think it's one of those. But everyone you seem to speak to, there's a real shortage of nines available now. I think across the game, whether that be coming through systems and academies or whether it be at senior level, there's a real shortage of strikers that are able to do a bit of everything. So it's one of those. I think we won't be in a position to do anything. So when you look at it, I'm still uber confident in the lads we've got. I thought Sinks did extremely well at the weekend, and then Naki comes on and has excellent impact. The same as Belly's done that as well in the games he's played. So for me, we're really pleased with the group we've got, and we'll keep pushing them hard to get better and to go and deliver.
Some of the comments from fans have been, if we get one more 9, that's going to be enough to push us right into the top 6. It's not that simple, is it? And when you see some of the fees that Sheffield United are having to pay for, like Tom Cannon, it's not that easy, is it, to get someone who's going to come in and score goals and improve on what you've got?
Yeah, and that's the challenge. I think that's kind of the point. If you had an open checkbook and you could go and get anyone, would you add? Of course you would, but financially we're not in that position to do that. So again, I don't want it to take away from the group we've got here, because I do have so much belief in the lads we've got here, and that's why when you look at who's out there and who's available, is it a massive upgrade on what we've got? There isn't in terms of that. So I think it's one of those. It's always one of those. In January, everybody wants to any window see business done, get people in, get people out. But like I said, I think it's one of those. There's a real strength in the group we've got here, the consistency, people knowing how we play, what we do, and for me, that's where our manager will be going into.
Just on Cal, did he come to you saying he wanted to play more minutes, or how did the transfer come about?
Yeah, they contacted us. I think it's always a tough one with Cal. I think his minutes might he might not appear to have a huge number of minutes, obviously due to injuries or being on the bench. But I think when you look at, I've never underestimated the impact he's had in the changing room and the culture. And he's a top pro, Nazy. Like the sessions the day after a game when there's 8-10 bodies training. He's unbelievable in terms of how he drives it, the standards he sets, the voice he has. So he's definitely a loss in terms of the voice from the changing room, but it's also one of those where you have to look beyond that of, for him as well, best opportunities, contracts up in the summer, what's going to enable him to, put himself in the best position to get the next contract, wherever that might be. And again, I think it's like I said, it's a good opportunity for him to go and get minutes.
I've heard how loud he can be when he's playing up here, how commanding he can be. He's obviously one of the older heads in your squad. You've got quite a young group. Is there any concerns for you that it's another experienced head gone?
No, I think it's always something that you can't manage, right? I think in terms of, I think rather than loading up one person, what we try to do is we have a leadership group where I think you can develop leadership. Some people it comes to naturally. I think probably less so in the younger generations coming through now. That's why I look at a Knight. He's probably quite unique in the characteristics he shows at his age. I think his leadership's excellent. But that's for me where, like we spoke to the leadership group the other day. Everybody needs to step up. Staff, players, everybody. It's we've done 29 games. We've got a third of the season to go. Everybody needs to step up, take responsibility, and normally have a go at being the best version of themselves every day.
Just on Mark Sykes, obviously he's got an option. There's the option to extend that contract by a year. You spoke about Naki Wells' contract at the weekend and when those talks might be held. Is it similar sort of time with Mark where you look at taking up that option?
Yeah, those conversations are ongoing at the minute. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something in the coming weeks might be done.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly. Yeah. With Josh Campbell-Slowey's injury, is he back fully fit now? Because I know he didn't feature for the 21s last week. Where is he finished?
He's similar to Pringy, to be fair. He's still a couple of weeks. He was on the AutoG treadmill yesterday. He's out on the grass tomorrow. So he's in and around everything that we're doing. I expect to probably have him back in a couple of weeks as well.
And he's somebody you think is ready to come in and step into the first team fold, as you mentioned about not giving young players opportunities for the sake of it. He's someone that you think is ready to make that step up?
Yeah, I've consistently said he's someone that, since pre-season, to be fair, I think his level's really grown. I think he's really improved. I think, he's big bit with the young lads is not necessarily the high levels they can produce, because I think the level of potential they will show gets them to a level. It's part of it, I think, when they come across is the trustworthiness, the reliability, doing the basics, the focus, and he got to a really good level in training where he was seen as a first team player. Jamie Knight-LaBelle was very similar last season, where he's accepted into the group because of the level he shows every day. So Josh was in a really good spot. He's unfortunately picked up the injury, but again, I think he's one of those where I'm sure he'll come back, hungry, ready to go.
You mentioned Jamie Knight-LaBelle that he scored last night. I know Josh Stokes got one on the weekend. You're going to have some real headaches in the summer, aren't you, with these young players coming back? They're all performing really well out on loan.
Yeah, and I think what it highlights is everyone's pathway can be different. It doesn't have to be you go straight into the team or you have to go on loan. I think that's the biggest bit. And I know Brian's done a good job previously of loaning people out for 2, 3, 4 loans before coming back. Others have gone straight into the team and been around it and kind of taken time to progress that way. So the conversations are never taken lightly. I think we've many years in developing players for the highest level of the game. So again, I think it's going right what's going to allow him to continue developing rather than stall it. And Jamie was one of those where wasn't ready to start for us, but actually was needed that next challenge rather than being on the bench with us every week. So it was right, let's get him out on loan, and he's done terrifically well. I think he's continually improved and progressed, and will only be better for being exposed to playing against senior players. So Jamie's one that we've kept a close eye on. I know Brian was up there watching him last night. We speak about him often, it's one of those. I think the season finishes, it's then almost elements of great opportunity pre-season for everyone to come back and show what they can do.
I just wanted to ask you about you here at Cowan, where you think he's at the moment, because we were sat behind you at Sheffield Wednesday, and it felt, I don't know if it was just because he happened to be playing on the side, but we could hear you really organising him, coaching him through the game. I just wondered where you feel he's at with his development at the moment and adapting to the English game.
Yeah, I think he's in a good spot. I think we always assess certain bits on match minutes and outcomes from games. I think he's you said it before, but you have to bear in mind the stage of his season. He's obviously by the time the season finishes, it'll be 18 months solid for him, which he's not someone that's got 300 games and 10 seasons under his belt. He's actually still quite young in terms of games and volumes of seasons. So it's a long season for him. I think he's someone that can have real high impact. Saw it again in training. I think energy, freshness is really important for him. So he's someone that like I said, we brought him here for, of course, the short-term impact, but also the medium and the long-term as well. So he's progressing. His English is getting better. He's getting adjusted to the weather up here, and he's one that I think he'll continually have impact between now and the end of the season. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's a little bit of break and you then see him go again to another level.
You mentioned his long-term future. I know it was a loan with a plan for a permanent move. Has any decision been taken on his permanent future yet?
Hey, we like him.
Yeah.
We brought him here with the intention of it being more than just a loan. I think he's someone that, like I said, it's really tough, the move that he's made, and it wouldn't surprise me, like I said, if it's beyond this season that you really see the best of him. So for me, why bring him in on loan and not see it through?
Thank you.
Okay, hi Liam. I'd sort of like to turn the focus back onto a sentimental side of football, but your return to Oxford. A mate of mine, Oxford fan, heartbroken when you left, but sort of says also you should be proud of the role that you played in their sort of upward mobility. Can I just ask you to sort of sum up your memories of your time at Oxford, please?
Yeah, no problem. I had a fantastic time there. I know when I went in, I'd been at the game for 3 months, having been sacked by MK Dons. So I know when I went in, there was a few question marks of the appointment, which no problem. I've had to fight to where I've got to, so I'm okay with that. We had an incredible end of the season. The team hadn't won. They'd got 1 point from the 10 before we went in, and we went in and a fantastic club with some top people and a terrific group of lads when we were there. Managed to stay up, which again, I know promotions and winning things, but that feeling when you've managed to I can't remember, we had 10 games I think at the end of it, managed to keep the team up was a special feeling that will live with me. forever. And then obviously we had the summer, we rebuilt the team, changed some of the staff, changed the culture, moved things forward, and obviously had a terrific start to the season. So it was a difficult decision to leave, just because emotionally it'd been good to me, and I had a really good time. I was a little bit hurt, disappointed with how things were handled their end when I left. Ultimately when you look at it, we kept them up, left them in second, and they obviously got paid a decent amount of money for us. So it was one of those where for me I had a terrific time there. Nothing but fond memories of a lot of the people I met and the staff I worked with. Some of the lads were terrific. So but it was one of those. I was just I'd come down here obviously in the cup game in pre-season and seen here and the potential of this club, and ultimately was excited by the opportunity here.
Can you sum up what sort of reception you think you'll get, not just from the fans but from the players as well? Because I'm not sure whether you were able to say goodbye to the players when you left.
Probably mixed. Probably mixed. I know some of the lads I still speak to and understood the decision. Others, and it was tough. I wanted to speak to players but wasn't allowed. I ultimately got told not to. So there was that element as well. But it's one of those. I had a really good relationship with a lot of the lads. I'm delighted. Played a part in their promotion last year, obviously, the staff included. And then same as the fans. Most of the fans I speak to and that I meet, and were fantastic in terms of it. And wherever you go, you're going to get a minority or a group of people that aren't happy with you. But that's ultimately life. You have to make those difficult decisions and live with them.
Yeah, you strike me as if you're quite thick-skinned. Are you going to be? Is it going to bother you what sort of reception you get, or would you like it if people were nice to you?
Yeah, I think you have to be thick-skinned sitting in this position, especially where the world's at now. I think you only see the stuff of Michael Oliver the other day. Where the world's at. Unfortunately, it's a lot of people that can look for the negative and everything and act like that. So it's stuff like that. My energy at the weekend won't be on me or the atmosphere or anything. My energy will be in the lads. What do we need to do to get success in that day? And that's ultimately all I can control. I can't control what people think of me or how they're going to feedback their opinion on me. It's concentrate on the lads, concentrate on me being present for our group and doing what I need to.
Does the reception you may or may not get affect your preparation for the game? I presume it doesn't.
No.
Right. Okay. That's.
No. We saw it down here. Our fans were terrific at home, I thought, that day. So for me, it is what it is. I'll give my all for the lads.
Yeah. Going back to last summer, did you watch their playoff final? Because it was despite the progress of the club, it was still a shock that they beat Bolton. Did you watch the playoff final?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
In person or?
No. I watched it in the local pub. To be fair, I was still living in Oxford at the time, so I watched it in a local pub with a landlord who's a mate now. To be fair, he's a good guy. And
can you talk us through your emotions that day then?
I can't remember it. To be fair, it was one of those. Of course, you want to. I still speak and fond of quite a few of the staff there and some of the players. So of course, I wanted them to do well. I think that. Naturally, I didn't leave with any ill feeling towards the vast majority of people there. So for me, it was natural. When you're invested in people and you care about people, you want them to do well. I tend to. That tends to be my behaviours. I much prefer to look for the good in people and hope that people do well, and try and support from that way. So yeah, it was. I had a beer and watched it in the local pub.
Not too many beers. Was the pub packed or was it empty? I presume most Oxford fans were.
Yeah, most were at the game. Yeah, it was a pub called the Crown in Chinner, which the landlord Craig's going to love me giving it a shout out. To be fair, so it was me and him sat there and just watched the game, and it was relatively quiet, undisturbed. It was right.
Yeah. By the way, do you live over this neck of the woods now?
No, I've been down here since. Well, I came down. I got an apartment December. And then family moved down in July, so I've been down here quite a while now.
Right. Could you elaborate a little bit, if you want, on you said you wish things had been handled a little bit better at the Oxford end when you left. Do you want to say anything else?
No, not really. I think it was one of those. I think if you'd looked at what we'd done at the club and the hours we put in, and how we transitioned it from a team fighting relegation to leaving them, we've only 15 games I think we'd done and had something like 10 wins and 2 draws. I think it was, when you look at their points return at the end of the season, we got a large chunk of them. So I think in terms of when you're leaving, it's part and parcel of football. I think you only have to look at Des going to see how quickly things can change. You can quickly, especially in our position, go from being loved and doing well to you're out of work very, very quickly. So for me, it was one of those where it's probably just a lack of appreciation. One, maybe the work that we'd done, but two, also the impact of some of the messages people put out on families. I was still living in the area, my son was in the area, so I think it's just understanding how that looks. But like I said, the vast majority of people and the work there was a really, really enjoyable time.
Are you at all surprised that the club has kicked on despite your sort of exit?
I just keep talking about Oxford.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I'm doing a 15-minute interview on Oxford. I've got some good people there that are ambitious, that want to back it. You know, there's, like I said, they're good club, good people.
Okay, right. Back onto Bristol City then. Yeah. How do you assess your prospects, like of giving the promotion challenge a real go this season? We spoke to Joe Williams after the game. He's really bullish, far more bullish than you'll sort of be in public. Anyway, what are your sort of thoughts on the fact that it's a really good opportunity that you've got?
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity if you can live in the present and focus game to game. I think that I know I bang on about it, but I do think it's very much that. You know, the feeling after probably Coventry to a week later, everybody's, you know, emotions and feelings and hope and dreams change in the space of a week. My job's probably to keep everybody, especially, well, not everybody, but keep the players, you know, focused on the next game, because, you know, we can all dream and hope, and you know, I want people to dream big. Yeah. But the players have to focus on winning Saturday. Forget what happens at the end of the season, because if you don't win Saturday, you make it harder. So their energy has to be into this weekend. So for me, I have a huge amount of belief in the group. I think we've got some really exciting players that are going to continue to grow. They're a top group to work with. I love coming in every day. You know, when you see how hard they work, how, you know, we had a funny session yesterday where two of the lads are squaring up to each other and people are losing their heads at refereeing decisions purely because they want to win and do well, which again, you know, when you talk about training as close to the game as you possibly can, I definitely saw that on the training pitch yesterday. So I think they'll only get better because of the demands they set on each other, the demands they set on us, what we put on them. So of course, dream big, but understand how you get there, and that's by, you know, turning up on Saturday and winning. Okay,
can I just ask about then a more general question about the club's ambition? And the finger's generally pointed at Steve Lansdown by fans. Is he ambitious enough to help you get over the sort of finishing line into the Premier League? Can you sum up? Can you give us a summary of how you see Steve Lansdown's ambitions for the club?
You'd have to ask Steve. I think his ambitions. I think the big bit is tough. It's one of those, Steve, John. I think we have a real clear strategy of what we're trying to do. I think, you know, it's quite clear. We're not going to go and throw fortunes at it. I think that when you look at it, you know, you look at some of the money being spent now and the levels they've probably got back to post-COVID. I think what you then have to do is, you know, work smarter than people, coach better than people, have a stronger culture than people. So that for me is ultimately where I go and what I can do. You know, I have a full amount of respect for. I would never want to own a football club, ultimately, because, you know, it's just going to cost you a load of money. So again, I think, you know, what Steve and John can't be spoken negative. If you look at the facilities, you know, the training ground here, what they've done at the stadium, you know, they've historically put, you know, a huge amount of money into the club. I think that, you know, when you look at it, you know, we invested in the summer. We brought in some exciting young players in the summer that are going to continue to get better. My job's always to push for more. I'm always going to want more because naturally I think any head coach manager that should be our job, is to try and get everything that we can to make the team as best it can. So I'll always fight for more and push that. But I think there's also a clear strategy how we're trying to do it. And that then has to be, you know, aligned with expectation and realism, which, you know, it might take a bit longer to get there because of the way we're doing it. But what it is it's more sustainable, and it's about progression and building rather than going, right, that we're all in on it there. And, you know, you look at some clubs that have tried that and what happens when you get it wrong. You know, the club here many years ago spent a huge amount, didn't get there, and, you know, then ended up losing a fortune for it. So I think I think when we talk around it, we're quite aligned, we're quite clear. We're pushing, you know, for young players to get better, to improve. And of course, you need a level of investment to compete. That comes back to the expectation element.
Okay, just finally, you mentioned going into Oxford, but you mentioned culture. You just mentioned culture there. Can you sum up, as if you were talking to the players, what do you mean by sort of culture and changing culture?
Yeah, culture for me is the actions, the behaviours that you show every day. I think that's the biggest bit. I think it's a really, really difficult industry, especially with players, with staff. We have to put the team first. I think that first and foremost, and then I think it's then how do you do that? And, you know, some of the values for me are really important around, you know, the respect that you show, the attitude you turn up with every day, the discipline that you live by, the honesty in your approach, and that's not. You know, hopefully, if you were to speak to any of the players or the staff here, it's not me driving that; it's the collective. I think that's the biggest bit. Of course, we have to role model it, but everybody has to drive the standards. Everybody has to, hold each other accountable to that day to day. And I remember speaking with a coach, talking around culture, that you ultimately never achieve it. It's something that, if I turn up tomorrow and I act completely different and I'm, not living by the values, you can derail 6 months' worth of good work. So it's something that we're quite aware of and something that we try to push every single day and work on every single day.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you.